Guys, Akil here. Welcome back to another episode of the Trading Coach Podcast, visual episodes. If you want to see the video version of this and all the cool little things that I put into it, you can do so over on Spotify. I know they show a video version. You can do so on YouTube as well. In today's episode, we're going to talk about two trading battles that every trader, including yours truly, must face, and one of them is 100% because of our own doing, yet there's nothing we can do about it. There's a little teaser for you. Oh, speaking of trading battle, promise I didn't do this on purpose. I am going to be in a live trading battle on July 30th at 1:30 p.m. New York time, live trading the FOMC report and statement and press conference and all that fun stuff. It's a cool little thing against another trader. We're gonna battle out and see who's the best. But if you want to check that out, just head over to YouTube, search the trading battle and find their page, and then click live, and you'll see a little thing that says when we're going live, and you can sign up. That way you get notified and you don't miss it. While you're there, I also did an awesome interview with them, probably a few months ago, which is really good. That's how I agreed to do the trading battle in the first place. I usually don't do these type of things. Check that out as well if you want some cool trading content. Man, I can't believe that actually worked out. Anyway, so let's get into today's subject. So the other day, I was speaking to one of our traders who was considering going live, and he was asking our trading community, what do you guys think? And after we went through the normal kind of checklist of like, did you progress through the courses and all the things that we say you have to do before ever trading live money, I said that I thought it would be a great idea, right? In general, obviously we want to go live, right? That is the end goal that we want to get to. So at some point we can't just keep dipping our toe into the pool. We have to jump in and do it. But I'm also a firm believer that the best experiences that you will get in the market and the best lessons that you will get in the market, they will come from your live experiences, because you can replicate a lot in trading, but you can't replicate the feeling of trading live with something at stake. So why is it important to have something at stake? Well, this goes back to the two battles that I told you about earlier. In trading, we are facing battle one and then battle two, right? This is usually when I would give like a sports analogy, but I'm going to do something different today. So you gamer nerds out there, you're going to appreciate this, hopefully. This reminded me of a brilliant video game called Shadow of Colossus, either Shadow of Colossus or Shadow of the Colossus, I forget. But it's a great game if you're ever if you're a gamer out there, right? And in the game Shadow of the Colossus, right, there were two initial battles, right? The first battle was navigating this big, larger-than-life type of puzzle or maze. So imagine like you have your character and you're climbing this very large hill, and you got to do the normal kind of gameplay stuff to figure out how to get there. And then once you conquer this first battle, climbing the hill, you get this epic cinematic view celebrating your greatness, and you did it. And then that hill that you climbed, if everything zooms out, turns into this big, large colossus. So imagine like a big stone giant creature, and you're just like a little person on its shoulder. And now you've got to battle this thing. That is the second battle. So in trading, we have similar battles, right? The initial battle, the puzzle, the maze, this is our technical analysis, right? For you guys that are technical traders, fundamental traders, you can do the same thing, digging through the data, but I've got a technical bias, so that's what we're going to talk about because it's my show. This is loading up your price chart, going through your price chart, doing your analysis, going through your process, figuring out, is there a good trading opportunity? If there is a good trading opportunity, how am I going to take advantage of this trading opportunity? Now, when you're demo trading or paper trading or even backtesting, this is the only battle that you have to face. But once you go live, right, this is where that trading chart transforms into a massive colossus, and you've got a whole nother battle on your hand. And it's a self-inflicted battle, because this battle includes your inner dialogue inner dialogue, there we go, and your emotions. So I want you to think for a second about your trading, right? Picture yourself going through your trading routine, right? You're on your charts, you're doing your technical analysis, right? I'm not saying technical analysis is easy by any means, but by the time you get to the point where you're considering trading live, you probably have a routine. You've probably gone through that routine thousands and thousands of times. Needless to say, you probably shouldn't be trading live unless you have a good idea of what you're doing. So you're going through all this, you've got your routine down, you're going through the motions, analyzing the charts, finding opportunities, right? All this is, routine, if I can say the word routine one more time. However, once it's time to act, once you've gotten to the point where it's time to potentially take the trade, this is where things often become a little bit difficult. This is where things get weird. This is when sweat starts coming off the brow. This is when the heart starts pumping, the hand starts getting jittery, because you've now introduced something new into the equation. Emotions, fear, greed, anxiety, nervousness, right? All of this comes to the table in that period between analysis and actual trading. Now, before you go bashing yourself for self-sabotage, right, and unprogram everything that we spoke about in the last podcast about positive talk and neuro-linguistic programming and how to treat yourself nicely so you can overcome those emotional battles, understand that there's nothing you can do about it. This is completely normal. It is not your fault to feel this way. Feeling this way is a result of being a human being. You see, part of being a human is having anxiety, and we'll focus on this one because this is kind of a common one that most traders deal with. And understand that there are many levels of anxiety, right? It is normal, but in general, anxiety is the human body's natural response to perceived danger. I'm going to say that again. Anxiety is the human body's natural response to perceived danger. Now, there's 2 points of that statement that I want you to pick out. One, natural, right? So again, don't blame yourself. This is normal. We all have anxiety. It goes to different levels. I have it about hospitals and other things. People have it about other types of weird stuff. I shouldn't say weird stuff. Stuff that is unique for them, right? There's my sensitivity training. But it's normal. The other part I want you to focus on, not just natural or normal, it is perceived danger. And this is really the word that I want to lock in on. Perceived. Because perceived means that it's based off our perception, and our perception is often self-created. So going back to our example, we're marking up the charts, we're doing our analysis, everything is going great, we're feeling good until it's finally time to actually almost get involved in the trade. Then we start getting all weird and crazy. The question is, why is that, right? What has changed in the 1 second between us doing technical analysis and everything being cool, right? Versus, okay, it's time to take the trade and everything going crazy. Has anything actually changed on the chart that has caused that? No, right? We tend to blame the markets a lot of the time, but it's 100% on us. We have now, this is the chart. I don't know, this is the coffee cup with my letter on it. This is the coffee cup. This is the chart. We have now, right, spiked the chart with anxiety and emotions. Ooh, nasty, making it taste weird. I do this on the fly. I don't know, guys. That was bad, but you get what I'm saying. We have self-sabotage. So remember, the markets are the coffee. It's just sitting here. It hasn't done anything, but we have brought in the creamer full of anxiety and fear and greed and all that stuff to the equation. And then when we sip it, it tastes weird and we wonder why. We want to blame the coffee, but it wasn't the coffee. It was us adding the junk to the coffee. Can you tell that I am in need of a coffee, right? So let's finish up this podcast. So weird analogies aside, what we've actually done is before we've even gotten into the trade, we've envisioned ourselves in the trade. We're perceiving, we're thinking into the future. That's what anxiety is. It's fear of stuff that hasn't happened yet, right? Depression is stuff that has happened in the past and we're dreading on it. Anxiety is fear of the future, stuff that hasn't happened, right? That's why we want to be present, so we're not worried about the future, not dreading over the past, right? But what we've done is, before we've actually gotten into the trade, right, we're seeing it. And as traders, as we typically do, we're kind of playing out the future, if this, then that, if this, then that, right? We shouldn't be taking a trade unless we've done that. But we start doing this to a different degree, where before we get into the trade, we start thinking about stuff that we shouldn't be thinking about. We start thinking about everything that can go wrong. You know, what if I wait for my reason for entry, but the market moves to that level before I have a chance to get involved? What if I miss the trade and it goes bad? What about that trade I took last week that was a loser? That was very similar to this one. This is going to be a loser too. What about the 3 losses I took this morning? How's this trade going to make up for that? Will I make enough profit for it? If you're in a trade, hey, I'm in a trade and I'm up, blank percent. What if it doesn't go all the way to my profit target and it goes back down and I lose money, right? Every single dreadful possibility we can think of starts going through our mind. This is us introducing all of these negative thoughts to the equation, and this is what makes us freak out during or before these trading opportunities. And with all that being said, keep in mind, while we're going crazy and nuts, the market has done nothing more than tell us, hey, your analysis says this is a good idea. So we are changing that good idea into a bad idea. Self-sabotage, ruining the coffee. Coffee references aside, to make it simple, what I'm saying is that our thoughts influence how we see the charts. The charts literally change because of how we now perceive it, with this added element of fear, anxiety, all that fun stuff I mentioned, right? And if we want to be a consistently profitable trader and replicate our backtesting results to the best of our ability, which is the goal, we need to find a way to separate those thoughts from what we view on the charts. I think it was Dr. Brett Steenbarger who said this. I'm going to butcher the quote. I don't remember it verbatim, but he said, we can't let our viewing affect what we're doing, right? That sounds like OJ's lawyer. And if the glove doesn't fit, you must acquit. But it was something to that sense of like, we can't let what we see and feel affect what we actually are supposed to be doing on the charts. So how do we achieve this? Well, got a few solutions for you, because I wouldn't just give you problems with no solutions. One is we need to recognize what are our triggers. That's always hard to say are and our back to back, but you guys get it. I did pretty good. Probably shouldn't have brought it up. But what are our triggers? What thoughts typically are introduced into our minds while we're trading, right? What gets me thinking about how poorly I'm doing or how good I'm doing in a greedy situation? Once we can identify these triggers, you can come up with solutions, right? And then try to limit them. I always talk about, I think I did a podcast called this too, about the back alley principle, where it's a simple kind of idea of like, hey, if you know that bad things happen in a dark back alley at 2 a.m. in the morning, the easiest way not to become a statistic and be a person that gets robbed or mugged and eventually turned into Batman in that back alley is to just not be around that back alley at 2 in the morning. My parents did a great job of this with me growing up. I grew up in Philadelphia, PA, not the greatest place in the world, and my parents did a good job of keeping me out of trouble, basically from banning me from going to different places. They were like, hey, can I go hang out with this kid? They're like, no, don't. He's bad news. And at the time, I'm angry and upset as a kid. I look back, I'm like, man, that guy did go down for murder. What if I would have been with him during the murder? Maybe I would have went down for murder too, right? I escaped it. I'm like, man, I got lucky, but I didn't get lucky. My parents were very deliberate with making sure I avoided situations. That's a trait that I hope that I've passed on to my kids, just to be able to recognize danger and avoid it. Maybe that's why I'm good at the markets, trading, risk management. I'm good at recognizing danger. Well, not this week. It's been this week sucked. Anyway, less about my trading negativities from this week and more about the podcast. So as I think more and more about it, maybe avoiding is actually the wrong word, because we can't necessarily avoid these thoughts. This is different than being at a bad friend's house or a back alley. These are things that will naturally occur in our brain and between our ears when we are trading. So we can't just like rip our brain out and throw them away. No. So maybe choosing to ignore them. Maybe that's the better one. And I've got a good example for this. So you guys know that I coach athletics, track and field, right? I mainly coach sprints, jumps, and hurdlers, the short, fast, and explosive people. But I'm also an assistant coach with cross country, the distance runners. And distance running is one of the most mentally and physically hard things to do. And I don't know if you guys have ever ran a race or anything like that, but When you are running, pretty much if you're running good, what you're doing is you're putting yourself in a state of pain and you're trying to hold that pain until you finish. And physical pain is one thing, right? We can train our bodies to deal with physical pain. I can train more at practice. I can run more. I can strengthen my body. I can deal with physical pain. Mental pain is typically the hard part, right? Because at some point in a race, your brain, and this is your body's way of protecting itself, right? Your brain is going to tell you, hey, this hurts, stop doing it. And you're going to get all these dark thoughts of your brain telling you to stop doing it because your brain is trying to protect the body. And what you have to do is you have to be able to ignore these dark thoughts. So what we do with our athletes is we work on meditation, right? And it's not a super big meditation, although I'm not a big meditation person myself, but you can practice this and this will be helpful in trading. Many lead trading psychologists talk about this, but we practice meditation in two ways. One, we'll do a meditation drill where we have them lie down and we just tell them you can't move. And we take them through all this mental stuff, but the main thing is you can't move. So at some point, you're going to have to itch. You're going to want to wiggle. And we say you have to tell your brain no. You have to fight it off, right? You're going to feel that itch. It's going to get very, very distracting. You're going to want to do it. You're going to want to do it. It's a mental drill to toughen yourself up to tell yourself, no, I feel this thing tempting me and I'm not going to do it. It's very similar to what we're seeing in the charts where it's like, man, I'm up this amount of money. I want to take profits, but understanding that you don't have to and understand that mind over matter, right? Because as you refrain from itching, you start gaining confidence like, man, I really thought I had to, but I was actually able to overcome that in my mind. And then we progress that to other things where it's like at some point in your race, you're going to get this negative thought that comes in your head. How do you get away from it? How do you tell this thought to be quiet? And one of the more popular ones that we use on the team is, or that the girls use on the team is, they'll say, shut up legs. Well, pretty much their mind is telling them that, and they'll just say, shut up legs. And that's telling that negative thought to shut up, get out of my mind, and move on. So, you can say shut up trade if you want. I don't know, figure out your own thing. But the point is, you can practice being mentally sharp. You can practice focusing on what matters and keeping those other distractions to the side. And that is something that, just like any type of physical trade, you can get better and better at. Something else that you can do, this is maybe less active, but remind yourself of what's the goal. We talk about process over outcome in the 4 different trades. There's winning trades, there's losing trades, right? There are good trades and bad trades, right? Good trades aren't always winners, bad trades aren't always losers. And at some point in your trading, you have to shift the importance, right, to taking good versus bad trades versus winners versus losing trades. Because if you take good trades, right, you're going to replicate your backtesting results to the best of your ability, right? Winning trades, you can't control that. You can't control what wins or loses. So why blame yourself for it? So the more you can shift that mindset to focusing on good versus bad, and even judging yourself and grading yourself. We spoke about this in the past on the podcast, right? Grade yourself on good versus bad. Make the goal not to have a 100% win percentage, but a 100% good trade percentage. When that becomes your most important value, now you have an emotional response, right? So when we want to take profits early, we're doing it because of fear or greed. And fear or greed is like either I want to make money or I don't want to lose money, right? It's all driven by money, right? That's what gets us in trouble. When we shift that mindset to good versus bad, it's not about the outcome of the trade. It's not about if the trade makes money or loses money. It's about doing things the right way. And when we value doing things the right way over profitability, we're more likely to let the trade play out the way it's supposed to. And in theory, right, if you've done things the correct way, if you let your trades play out the way they're supposed to, you will become more profitable, right? So the thing that you're doing, right, you're making mistakes to achieve a thing, right? Make money or not lose money. But in making those mistakes, you're actually making it harder to achieve that thing bigger picture. By valuing what's important, the process, you're giving yourself a better opportunity at achieving the thing, winning more and losing less. So if you're someone that's on the fence about doing that, it's all stupid Akil talk, right? Think about the big picture. In order to achieve profit, which is what you want, that is the result of doing things the right way. Therefore, doing things the right way should be the ultimate goal. The last options, like working in threes, is, and we do this with our athletes as well, or I should say our mental performance coach does this, is she's big on writing scripts, right? So we do a lot of anxiety before and after races, and she talks about literally writing a script, right? Writing yourself, put yourself in a play, put yourself in third person like we spoke about in the last podcast, and write a script to get yourself out of it. So again, once you identify what your triggers are, I start feeling this way once price goes into the negative, or I start feeling this way once price gets halfway to my profit target, write out a script. What to do when price gets halfway to my profit target, and I start feeling emotionally vulnerable, right? And you write it out, and then you walk through it, and then it calms you down in a methodical process. That's something to do as well. I'm not going to take you through a whole script here because I feel like this podcast is already like 20 minutes and it's longer than usual, but maybe that's something we can revisit in the future if there's enough interest in that. So in conclusion, the point is that what we're introducing to the market, all this anxiety, these are nothing but distractions, right? And I say they're distractions because, again, we have no control over them happening. So what we need to do as traders is we need to learn how to deal with these distractions. And I would tell you this, distractions do get easier and easier to deal with the more time, as they become more normal. So, last story, I promise. When I graduated college, I moved into the city, right? Had a nice house, a duplex in the city. The only problem was it was located right between a bar and a college campus, and this was the main strip that people used to get from said college campus to the bar. So, as you can imagine, every Friday and Saturday night, probably like 10 o'clock, there'll be crowds and groups of college kids, rather loud, walking from campus to the bar, and they're screaming and yelling and blah, 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 right? I'm an early bird, right? So by the time 10 o'clock comes, like, I'm ready to be in bed, right? This is after my party phase, right? So it was quite distracting. Then they would come back around like 2 o'clock. The same crowd would come back drunker and louder, returning from said bar to campus. And once again, I wake up in the middle of the night because they're yelling and throwing things. And you know how it goes, right? All that fun stuff. Not to mention in the middle, right? I was near a baseball stadium as well. During the summer, in every Friday and Saturday night when they had home games, fireworks would go off like 11 o'clock as well, or whenever the game finished. So I've woken up in the middle of the night by boom, 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 boom. Now, those didn't distract me too much. Again, I'm from Philly, so I'm used to a lot of gunshots at night, unfortunately, and I sleep through those quite nicely. But the point is, this was very distracting at first. And I apologize if the video is lagging or whatnot, but as it became more of a routine, as it became normal, it became less and less distracting to the point where I just stopped caring. I didn't even notice it anymore. It was so normal that my body adjusted. And what I'm telling you is that as a trader, as you get more experience, the same thing will happen to you. I get praised all the time in trading. I took a trade in the live room this week, and I got punished right away, right? Entered a trade like less than 5 minutes later, right? Boom, I lost. And people are like, well, how did you keep your cool? How did you do this? Or if there's a trade that's close to big targets, right? And the fact of the matter is, right, it's not that I'm emotionless. Now, in general, I don't have a lot of emotions or whatever like that. That helps. But it's not that I don't feel the need or feel the temptation to exit a position early or feel the temptation to grab profit right away or move my stop back to avoid losses. I'm sure I do feel all that stuff. And, every once in a while it pops up. But 9 times out of 10, because I've been trading for, almost 20 years now, it's just become the norm. I've accepted that. I'm going to do my analysis. I'm going to have to enter my trade. I'm going to be a little bit nervous when I enter my trade. I'm going to look at my trade. It's going to be a little bit in profit. I'm going to want to take that profit, but I'm going to ignore it. It's going to keep going in profit. It's going to be close to my profit, my limit order, my take profit order, and I'm going to get even more nervous because I'm like, what if it reverses right away and I lose all this money, and then it's going to go and win and I'm going to be happy, or it's going to go against me, right? The whole thing, vice versa. I've been through it so many times that it's now become routine, and I've gotten more and more comfortable with it. So understand that it will eventually happen, but the more you start implementing these tactics, because this is stuff that I did at the beginning of my trading career, it will shortcut kind of that learning curve to get to the point where you just don't care. Speaking of caring, if you care about the Trading Coach podcast and my happiness, do me a favor. Leave me a rating and a review, 5 stars if you think I deserve it. Also, spread the word about the Trading Coach podcast, so share it on your socials. There we go, messed it up. But that's the best way you can support the show. We've got 16,000 plus followers, and I want to get to 20,000, but I need your help to do it. So spread the word, keep supporting, hit like button, all that fun stuff. And until next time, plan your trade, change your plan. Take care.